G'day guys, welcome to ISL Live. I'm here with Rob McDowell, the magical, mystical mentor himself. So, say hi man to the world.
Hi guys, lovely to be with you. Thanks for having me, Elphie.
That's alright mate, anytime.
Always good to chat.
It's always good to chat. See, Rob and I have amazing chats that I'm like, we need to capture some of this and get it out there. So we just had a nice bit of a time together just chatting, and now we're going to continue that conversation and talk about practicing your purpose. So I'm just going to give you time to come on board, say hi, who you are, where you're from, before we kick into how to practice your purpose. Welcome to my mother on board. Hey mum, how you doing? So I did an ISL Live very recently, I think it was last night, it's all a blur right now, on how to find your passion and your purpose. And now we're going to go into how to actually create that on an ongoing basis. So I think the first thing, we'll probably just kick straight into it as well. The first thing when practicing your purpose, I think, is to build some kind of daily habit around it and actually have it going as like an ongoing thing that we do every day. Yeah?
Yeah, well, I think based on what you said before, Elphie, about the intersection for finding your purpose, I wanted to actually add an extra layer to that.
Yep.
Which is, I think a lot of people are scrambling to find their purpose in the world. So they're looking for roles, jobs, career paths that they think are going to provide this incredible, magical life. And one of the distinctions I make around that is looking at the values, looking at the core values that you want to create in the world, and that being living your passion.
So really just getting clear on who we are at our core of our being, the things that we want to stand for most in the world. Yeah, I like that. And thanks for the likes coming through too there, guys. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. Yep.
Yeah. And so in that, for example, my one is connection. And very much from a young age with my family and the way we were, it was a natural thing that sort of was built. And I seized upon it when I was in my 20s, of recognising that connection was, my life's purpose. So I think it's good to add that to the mix of what you've already talked about in the previous chat, because it gives people those two elements, the physical element of what you want to create in the world, and then those values, the hard and the soft elements of your creativity, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's very important to get clear on those soft, like the internal and the external, and have those two align. That's very cool. So welcome to Craig, Yasmin, Yasina, and James. Thanks you for the love there, James. Welcome to the cast. Love you too, man. Yeah, that's good. And so, like, to build on that, mine is freedom. So, being able to line up both the world, so what the world wants and what the world's willing to pay for, with who is it I am on the inside, and what is it I want to stand for, even if no one was watching, even if, there was no impact on the world, what would give me a deep satisfaction in my daily experience, yeah? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Awesome.
Yeah. And in that way, there's no end to it, because you could say, I want to be the best engineer in the world, like being very pragmatic, but, you want to be an engineer who creates freedom. I mean, it adds a whole different depth to that path than just the nuts and bolts of this thing is my passion, rather than this way of being is my passion.
Yeah, or it's like even a complete unit that builds upon not just the action and the being, but the embodiment of both those things, right? The intersection of both those things.
Yeah.
Great. See, this is what I'm talking about. We need to do more of these, man. I'm loving this chat. So, all right, cool. And so what else is there? I mean, like you obviously have, I think you mentioned before something about an expression of those values, and it's linked tightly to what that is. So you're talking about obviously the rock star and having that expression. What else? What do you do? What is your passion? How do you express your passion in the world?
Yeah, my passion, as I said, one of the core elements is connection. So I've been developing various projects and business models around that very well-formed sense of how do we connect. And so I've run a lot of men's groups, run a lot of boys initiation ceremonies, and run also a lot of projects, housing and development projects that build a sense of connectedness and that community coming together. That's the lead on from connection, is how do we build community, and that's one of the key areas I've been focusing on to express that. The interesting thing is, especially in Australia, community is the type of thing that's slowly getting momentum. A lot of people think we're already there, but in a lot of ways we're a long way from it. And in terms of expressing this, I've had so many major challenges in bringing this to life, like really been knocked about. And I think that's worth acknowledging, because expressing your passion it takes courage, it takes something to bring that to life, and you're going to get knocked around by the world, because often that expression in its pure form is going to challenge the normal routines and the normal ways of life.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important to acknowledge that, to take stock and to take care as you build on your passion and build on the expression of it.
Great. So what I'm hearing there as well is that, so first up, guys, if you have any, what's your passion? How do you practice your purpose? We want to hear from you as well, and be able to bounce off some of the stuff you guys have got to share as well. How do you take what you know is your passion and build that into something you're going to practice in everyday life? And we want to hear that and have everyone else hear that as well. So please feel free to chime in. Feel free to ask any questions as well. Thanks, Ryan, for your comment, mate. We love doing these. So it's great to know that it's being heard and being loved. So thank you so much. But what I'm building upon what you're saying there, like, I'm hearing that there's a way of actually, this is a new thought, so we'll see how this goes. But, it's about internalizing that experience first. What is it that we do, naturally, and what is we love doing just for ourselves, and be selfish around that. Make sure we're clear and really grounded in, this is what I do for me, so that as it gets rocked and as people come along and try and shake it up, you can stand strong in the fact that you do this for you first. And then beyond that, what is then the other, the self as connection with one other. And then, so for the example could be for me, I love learning, I love researching, finding out new ways of being, ways to improve myself internally every day. And then I've taken that, and then you take it to the next level and multiply that. So multiply it by 2. So one of the things Rob and I love just sitting down, Mike as well, who's in the room. Say hi, man.
Hey, guys.
So Mike and I love having these chats as well, and just building upon these different ideas just with the one-on-one. And then beyond that, once that's solidified, and once you're pretty sure, you're pretty good at that, and you're ready to take that to the world, then you can take it to the world. And the thing I'm trying on now is obviously doing these Idea Sex Lives and actually bringing this value to you guys, because I can see the value it's been for me personally. I can see the value that's been co-arising between myself and another, and now let's exponentialize that. Let's leverage that to the max and bring it out there to everyone else. So that's cool. So we're getting a couple of comments in here. Yasmin saying, I think building a connected, heartfelt, passion-driven business community in Australia is immensely powerful for the people and businesses involved. So many businesses and professionals try to go at it alone and see how there's competition. That's great. Really good comment there. And I think, Yasmin, you should catch up with Rob, because you guys have got a fair bit in common actually now I think about your connection. So I'll connect you guys after this call. But thank you so much for that point. And we can all help each other, and that's hopefully what these mediums are starting to do, bring us together and bring like-minded people in tribe together online, rather than just in locality. So that's cool. Living from a vibration of love and fun, says James, and I definitely see that from you, man. That's cool. And so, what can you do with that? Once you've been living that long enough, and I think you've been living that quite well yourself. I've known you for a little while, and you've been doing that. So what can you do now to start having that? Maybe you already are doing it with one other person, but then what can you do to bring that to the level, as Rob was saying there, to the level of community? So that's cool. And lastly, what Ryan's saying, secondly, I could make money, should make money from my passions, as opposed to that just being a hobby. Yeah, that's cool, man. And Ryan, if you haven't seen it yet, jump back to the other video, and we talk a little bit about how to turn that into a profit-driven basis as well. But yeah, everything that obviously not everything has that in the market per se, but if you're starting from your passion, then that's the main thing, and you won't be that impacted by it not making money if it doesn't. But hopefully in this day and age you can find a way to do it. There'll be people out there who will want what you've got to share. So yeah, how are we going? Cool. So we've got a couple of minutes left. yeah, let's maybe just talk a little bit about anything else that you've got there around the courage maybe that it takes or whatever's there.
Yeah, well, one of the key things I think that's really important around living your passion is acknowledging that it's a process and it's going to unfold and you're going to take some hits. Like I've taken some major hits in business and in bringing out the full magnificence of what I want to express. And it's really important to understand. One of the things I've got to in that is understanding the inner development that's required, the inner work that's required. Like I look at connection and have this passion to see that in the world. You know, I was part of a project of looking at 800 acres in the Yarra Valley to put a fully sustainable township, and I worked 4 or 5 years on that project. It's going to be a massive project. It didn't make it because of the rezoning challenges we have in this state of Victoria, and you know, it fell on its knees. And part of that process, or part of the learnings that we take in this is that there's going to be times where things fall down, because when you're living your true passion, it's going to meet up against the world. And I think it's really important to then look at the internal journey that needs that helps you to lift from, you know, in my case, in that connectedness. I've had to go after that major project. I've had to go really inward to really begin to cultivate that connection. And they often say, you know, people who are attracted to a certain work, or let's say a doctor or something like that, that's their big area of healing. You know, their health is a big area of healing. So you're often attracted and passionate about things where most you've got to do work and do healing in those places. And I think I've had a very internal state the last 3 years after developing. You know, I did a 27-lot eco village in Elphie here in Melbourne. You know, after developing and really surging forward, there was time to go back in and to really look at my own level of connectedness and how that was living in the world, rather than always projecting outside and looking for the results in the exterior world and pushing for those results.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a time of seasons within what we do in the world, and that the basic structure of that is there's a time for, you know, the external and the creating and the causing and the action and the testing, and then there's a time for the, you know, the reflection and the internal, you know, look at what's the impact on my being. Am I being really satisfied by this? Yes. Am I really living my passion? Is it time to sell this thing off to somebody else and I'm ready to work on something else? Like there's all this reflection that has to happen, that if we don't do, we wake up, you know, 5 years from now and go, I've been doing what I didn't want to do for the last 3 years, right? And so I think Steve Jobs said, you know, every day I wake up and look in the mirror and I go, am I enjoying what I'm doing now? And if enough days go past that I'm not, then I change that. And that's a very powerful and I think appropriate comment for us to leave it on, man. So
very nice.
Thank you so much for coming on. And been great having you guys on the cast. Thanks, Glenn, for joining us at the last minute there. You guys can replay that anytime you want. And we'll just loving your times. Thank you for your comment there, Yasmin. Never truly a failure. There's only learnings. That's great. So thanks a lot, Rob. Love your face, man.
No worries,
and we'll catch you all later on. And let me know if you want Rob back. I want him back, so it'll probably happen. But let me know and it'll happen sooner. Take care, guys. See ya.
See ya.